down to business.
When he drinks, he thinks.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the #1 liquid-fueled, liquid lubricated show on the interwebs. This is the Whiskey Musings Broadcast, and I am your high-end betting on America host, Rick. That's right. I am going long on America, and I'll tell you why. In this episode, I will explain that, okay? Now, sorry, I just noticed I'm ironically watching I saw myself in it was the Facebook feed. I ended up on the Facebook feed, and I just happened to watch that, for just a second. It was kind of interesting, to see to see myself pop up in the transition between my introduction and then me coming in. So it kind of got me a little flustered there for a second, but hey, you know what? I had an absolutely awesome day today. And let me explain why. I mean, so, I've said this before. I think I've told you guys about this, but I have two children. One of them is my son, who's 21, and my daughter, who's 16. And my daughter is a competitive dancer. She is constantly busy, like all the time busy. And I myself am no slouch either, between the show here and my work and trying to handle all of the things around the place. We don't get a lot of time to sit down and talk. We don't get a lot of time to just kind of hang out. Well, today, for whatever reason, my daughter decided that she was going to come and hang out with Dad for as long as it took us to do the chore. And ironically, it took us, I was picking up some wood, and firewood, because I burn with firewood here at the studio, and heat with firewood, I should say, here at the studio. And so we spent essentially the entire day together, riding in the truck back and forth, going and picking up this wood. And she doesn't know it. But I spent most of the day, if not all of the day, thinking about my own father and the times that we would hang out together. And so it was a really good day for me. I really appreciated the help that she gave me. She dove right in. She didn't complain. She's not much of a person who is that interested in things like that. And she helped, immensely. I don't even think I can even tell you how much she actually helped. And even if she didn't help, it was just the fact of her and I hanging out. And we used to do things like, go out on dates and stuff. I've got pictures of where we do daddy-daughter dates and things like that. And I'd take her to dinner, and, she'd get all dressed up. And of course I'd try and look nice too, and that kind of stuff. But it was really a good day. It was a fabulous day. And so when I came in here, even though I was a little behind when I came in here, things started to click. And what was even better was the fact that, the person that I got the wood from, you all know that I live in a very questionable area. When I mean questionable, I mean in terms of, conservative versus liberal. I mean, I live in a very liberal state. I live in a very liberal section of the state. Thankfully, I don't live in the liberal city part of the state. But the fact of the matter is that driving up to the house where I was picking up this wood it was really cool to drive in and see a flagpole. And let me explain why this was cool. The flagpole had at the top the American flag, the colors, which you all know from the show that I absolutely love the colors. Okay. To me, that is one of the most beautiful images that you can possibly have, is to see Old Glory in all of her glory waving in the breeze. And I even mentioned that to my daughter today when my flag was flapping in the breeze. It's just one of the most beautiful sights in my mind. So I always enjoy it when people fly the flag, and when they fly the flag correctly, that makes it even better. What was below that flag, though, was the "Don't Tread on Me" flag. And for those of you that don't know, that's the Gadsden flag. It's the yellow flag with the rattlesnake coiled up and the words "Don't Tread on Me" on it. Then underneath that flag was a third flag. And that third flag had I can't remember the word, but it had something to do with the 2020 election. And I think it was like stolen or stolen 2020, whatever. I don't remember, but at first I thought it was a Trump flag. I didn't even actually see it at first. I saw the blue. I thought it was a Trump 2020 flag. But it was awesome pulling up to that place and seeing that. Then a little bit later on, because we had to make multiple trips to get this wood. And I'm sorry, this is taking a bit of a long time, but it's really important, I think. But then a little bit later on, the gentleman who owned the place opened up his garage. He had 4 old-time cars that he was essentially working on and restoring, or had bought them as restored. 2 of them were big, like half-ton trucks. Okay. All of the 3 running ones, and actually the 4th one was, he told me, came from his great-grandfather. And the other 3 vehicles that were in there were 1933 and 1934. The 2 trucks, I believe, were the 1934s. The car that he was working on was a 1933. It was absolutely wonderful. And I had the opportunity. Usually I don't like talking about politics, but I had the opportunity. I took it, and we kind of talked a little bit about the election coming up, about our hopes for the state of Washington, because he clearly was a conservative. And I also passed on the name of the program here, and he said he was going to check it out. I don't know if he's checking it out tonight, but I'm not going to throw his name out there because I haven't been given permission to. So, but just understand that it's really refreshing to know that you're in kind of a questionable zone, and to run across somebody who apparently is very much like you, in terms of your thought processes and beliefs. And so that was that, even though it was work and it was hard work, I got to hang out with my daughter, 16 years old. We weren't arguing. We weren't fighting. I got to talk about my dad, and reminisce a little bit. She allowed me to do that. And I got to meet another fantastic conservative here in Washington State. And I really hope he does come and check out the program, and I hope he kind of hangs out. He also mentioned Dan Bongino because he asked me where things were. And like I said, I'm streaming on YouTube for now until they kick me off. And then, of course, I'm streaming on Rumble, and I'm streaming, of course, on the audio portion of the program. I'm sending it out to a bunch of different podcast areas. Spotify, I know, carries it, and so you can go there and pick up the audio portion of the broadcast too. But I just got home. I was able to we took care of it, and everything was it was a beautiful day. It started off raining, and it ended up, the sky opened up and it became really clear. It was supposed to only be partly cloudy, but it became really clear. this afternoon. In fact, it's so clear that I'm probably going to have to start a fire here in the studio just to make sure that my wife and daughter are warm. But hey, we've got the wood to do it now. So this is, we just started last night. I started the fire for the first time this season. And so, so this is really good. I feel a really, really, heavy load taken off. And then I get in here. I'm about an hour ahead of schedule, or ahead of my streaming time. So it's 5 p.m. here in the Northwest at the time. And I dive into some of the stories that I wanted to hit you with tonight in preparation for the show. And several of them popped up and are also along the lines of having a really good day. And so I wanted to pass that stuff along to you, because I always feel that, we spend a lot of time, especially on this show, kind of ripping on some of the things that these people are doing. And trust me, there's a few of that in here. But the fact of the matter is that we have to look forward. We have to be positive, because if we're not positive, then we tend to think that all is lost, and all is not lost. Dan Bongino said this, and I'm saying this: go long on America. We as Americans do not give up. We do not give up without a fight. And even when the chips are down, we're still able to gather up everything and just charge. We always find a way to get around the obstacles, whether it's under, over, or even through, or around, or even through. We always get around the obstacles. We always take care of the obstacles. We are the innovators. We are the leaders in this world. And whether we know it or not right now, yes, we're a little beaten down, but we're coming back. I truly believe that. I believe that for our voting coming up in little over 2 weeks. And we have got to, dust ourselves off. We've been knocked in the dirt, but we got to dust ourselves off, and we got to start getting back into the fray. And you know what, Whiskey Warriors, I'm telling you, we've got to get back up into it. We really, really do. And so I just wanted to pass that little story along to you in the start of the show. And I'm going to continue this with a little bit of good news here in just a moment. But first, I need to bring up tonight's sponsor, and it is... I don't know why this does this every single time. I try so hard. Okay, here we go. All right, the Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission: to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government as defined in the Declaration of Independence by the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.whiskeymusings.online, to sign up. And while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.whiskeymusings.online. That's Indio Oscar Tango Charlie .whiskeymusings, all lowercase, all one word, .online, to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's iotc.whiskeymusings.online. Or if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, go to constitution.whiskeymusings.online. That's constitution.whiskeymusings.online. All of that is lowercase. Go check out the Institute on the Constitution today. And I thank them for allowing me to be a affiliate and for them coming and supporting it. Well, basically allowing me to use them to support the show. All right. So, of course, this is Saturday night. And Saturday night means that we have On This Day in American History. And of course, for On This Day in American History, we read from the American Patriots Almanac. Whoops.
Please check your mailbox.
What the heck? Sorry about that. That just jumped out of nowhere. I must have hit something. I don't know why. Anyway, we read from our American Patriots Almanac, which is an awesome book to go get. It's listed apparently for around $20. But it might be a little bit more, but you can go check that out, and it has wonderful stories in it, those of which that we, of course, read from. So tonight's On This Day in American History is for October 22nd. The greatest danger of all would be to do nothing. On October 22nd, 1962, President John F. Kennedy appeared on the television to inform Americans that U.S. spy planes had uncovered a clandestine, reckless, and provocative threat to world peace. Soviet missile sites in Cuba, under construction but nearly complete, that could soon house nuclear missiles capable of striking the United States. Kennedy demanded the missiles' removal and announced a blockade of Cuba to stop Soviet ships from bringing more weapons to the island. This began some of the tensest days of the 20th century as the U.S. and USSR stood at the brink of nuclear war. Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev warned that his subs might sink U.S. Navy ships attempting to stop Soviet vessels. If the U.S. insists on war, we'll all meet together in hell, he growled. Kennedy certainly did not want war, but he refused to back down. The greatest danger of all would be to do nothing, he told the American people. The world held its breath as Soviet ships approached the blockade line. The crisis deepened when a U.S. reconnaissance plane was shot down over Cuba and its pilot killed. Americans stockpiled emergency supplies and even fled large cities. Meanwhile, U.S. and Soviet officials traded urgent proposals and counterproposals. On October 28th, Khrushchev agreed to dismantle the sites in return for a U.S. pledge not to invade Cuba, as well as the removal of U.S. missiles in Turkey. We were eyeball to eyeball, and the other guy just blinked, commented a relieved Secretary of State, Dean Rusk. Historians have debated who came out on top in the Cuban Missile Crisis, Kennedy or Khrushchev. But there is no doubt in standing up to the Soviet totalitarianism, the young president turned back a dangerous threat to the nation's security and to world peace. And that was today's On This Day in American History. Now, I got to tell you, I don't think Joe Biden has those kind of cojones. I don't think he'll stand up to the Russians. I don't think he'll stand up to the Chinese. And that is very unfortunate for us here in the U.S. But hey, this is a happy day. And it's so happy that, in fact, I have dipped into the Crown Royal Black that I got from the Whiskey Warrior, Buddy Weiser. Thank you very, very much. I do appreciate it. I've got to thank you every single time because this is just a fabulous form of whiskey that I drink from. It is very good, very smooth. It's got like a tiny bit of spice to it and a little bit of, I almost want to call it a licorice taste, and I'm not really much into licorice, but it's got a tiny bit of licorice taste to it, and that is awesome. All right. So this first story that I'm going to bring up for you, and I'm just going to take a quick look over here. actually, that reminds me, just looking at the other thing, I wanted to apologize to you, folks. So Wednesday night stream, I had Steve on the program, and Steve Stiles, who has his own podcast. And I noticed when I went back and listened to the stream that there was actually an echo whenever he was speaking. And I had to dive in because I'm a bit of a, I guess you could say I'm a bit of a perfectionist in this sense, but I had to dive in, and I have fixed that. So the next time I have a guest on who is on the phone like that, whether it's like somebody important or somebody just calling in, a little bit more on that, in just a minute. But, if any of that happens, definitely that is resolved. So I apologize for the slight echo. It was slight. Some people may not have even noticed it. But I did. And that's the most important. On that note, I also have a survey that is out. And if you have not seen it yet, let me see if I can get the link really quick. I have 11 responses that have been collected so far. I am allowed 40 responses. I really would like more. So if you haven't had a chance, I'm going to drop this in all of the chats. I got to do this right here. So I'm going to drop this in all of the chat places. If you have not had a chance to go and take the survey, please do so. I would really appreciate it. It's got some questions with regards to the next evolution of the program, and so this is really important to me to get your feedback, so listeners, watchers, etc., to gain a understanding on some new things or even some old things that I might be bringing back. So I do really appreciate going out and taking a vote or taking the survey if you have not done so already. I appreciate it. It doesn't even take that long, really. I mean, it's like 5 questions. So if you've already done it, I thank you for the responses. If you haven't, please go ahead and jump out there and take care of that for me. Okay. I've been digging here. Let me go ahead and just drop off. So this first article is from the Federalist, and I think it's very apropos for tonight. And the Federalist, of course, for those that don't know, the Federalist is actually the paper where the Federalist Papers comes from. The Federalist has been around for ever since our founding. It is an incredible newspaper, but they did a piece in their culture section that says data shows conservatives are happier than leftists. Is anyone surprised? And I'll be honest with you, if you've ever looked at a leftist and you've ever talked to a leftist, man, they are really angry people. I mean, they are angry. They are bitchy and whiny and complaining all the time. You ask them what good they have in their lives, and they don't have any good things to say in most cases. And then you go on the flip side and you look at people like, oh, I don't know, our very own Hannah Gile on the Mark Kaye Show, for an example. That girl is always happy. She is always smiling. She's always got something good to say. If you follow her on Facebook, she's always popping up stuff. Good, good vibes, good images, pictures, whatever, good sayings. She's always upbeat. And anyway, so I read this and I thought this was kind of interesting, but apparently it comes from, or at least the piece was inspired by a tweet from a researcher named Brad Wilcox. And he tweeted that liberals are about 15 percentage points less likely to be truly satisfied with their lives. And then on that same day, he tweeted out a compelling piece of information. And he wrote this. He said, liberals are about 18 percentage points less likely to be completely satisfied with their mental health than conservatives. Interestingly, he added, the issue of satisfaction or lack thereof appears to be especially acute for liberal women. According to the author, only 15% of liberals are completely satisfied with their lives and mental health. On the other hand, 31% of conservative women are completely satisfied with their lives and 36% with their mental health. So almost twice as many conservative women are happy with their lives and their mental health than are liberal women. Gee, I wonder why. Anyway, so he notes, or Wilcox notes, that the two family-related factors that help explain this ideological gap are marital status and family satisfaction. Now, I find this really funny because, and I'm sorry, I gotta laugh at it because all the liberal women talk about is how they want equal treatment. They want to be, half of them want to be some other gender, and they sit here and they talk about how, they want to be free to do whatever they want to do, et cetera, et cetera. But yet, for some strange reason, they are not diving into what could potentially make them happy, which would be a monogamous connected relationship with, believe it or not, a man in getting married and, maybe eventually having a family and that kind of stuff. Now, Wilcox goes on here and he says, in short, conservatives between the ages of 18 and 55 are about 20 percentage points more likely to be married than their liberal peers, as well as 18 percentage points more likely to be satisfied with their families. Now, marriage and family are directly associated with happiness, psychological and spiritual growth, and fewer mental health issues. Marriage is a key predictor of party identification. It is also a key predictor of satisfaction. The problem, one that's growing in size, facing liberals involves fully embracing a false narrative. Wilcox argued that too many on the left have embraced the false narrative that the path to happiness runs counter to marriage and family life, not towards it. Wrongly, they believe independence from the supposed shackles of domestic life will make them happier. They fall for harmful narratives being pushed by mainstream media outlets, celebrating the dissolution of marriage and the rise of childless women. Wilcox criticized a recently published and widely read story by the author Molly Smith that appeared in Bloomberg. In the piece, Smith made a wholly inaccurate claim. Women who stay single and don't have kids get richer and will continue to get richer. In reality, stressed Wilcox, married mothers tend to be richer. Sure, some unmarried, childless women are happier and richer than their married, family-oriented counterparts. However, as Wilcox was eager to emphasize, progressives must understand and appreciate that these women are extreme outliers. The key to happiness, a philosophical conundrum that has perplexed the sharpest minds for centuries, appears to involve a healthy marriage and a life built around a strong family unit. When it comes to actual meaning in life, although employment and job titles are mightily important, they can't compete with the sanctity of marriage and childbearing. When lying on your deathbed, will you smile and remember closing that six-figure deal or those family vacations and Sunday dinners? Hopefully, the latter. Now, I won't go on and continue with it, but he also brings up faith as another part of it. And he also talks about, let me see, the belief in a meritocracy, which is the belief that anybody who works hard can make it. So obviously, liberals and the liberal left, are thinking that they're happier because they've been told that they are happier. but they secretly are actually saying they are not happier. And so I found that extremely interesting, just not surprising, but interesting. And also wanted to kind of bring that up because, again, go long on America. Those are America values. Americans like the sanctity of marriage. The majority of marriage of Americans appreciate the positions that men and women have in traditional roles. We believe, especially as conservatives, we believe in faith. We believe in meritocracy, that the more you work, the harder you work, the more you should gain. We believe all of this. And this runs counterintuitive to everything that the left and the communists and the Marxists have been attempting to push for generations, over and over and over again. Now, I have another, let me go to this one because, let me take this and put it a little bit farther back. So let me go to this one. So I don't know if anybody's been watching. Believe me, I don't want to talk. I mean, I don't want to necessarily talk about polls all the time. I don't want polls to be the greatest, the thing that we want to lean on and everything else. If a poll says, and I'm telling you this right now, if a poll says that you are that the governor or the gubernatorial candidates or the senators or whatever, that the GOPs are winning, don't believe them. Please get out, go vote Republican, because I'm telling you, they may not be perfect, but the other side is completely insane. And this came out, and I thought this was really, really interesting because of the fact that, we've seen a lot of the things about the ads with Beto O'Rourke, and Beto O'Rourke being, the young, charismatic, Hispanic claiming person. I think he's about as Hispanic as freaking, what's her name? The chief 1024 Indian. I can't even think of her name. Anyway, but I saw this and I was like, wow, this is a just an awesome indicator, especially because Beto O'Rourke keeps talking about how when he gets in, he's going to take away your guns. He's going to take away the AR-15 because in his mind, yes, Pocahontas, that's right. Thank you. Take away the AR, Elizabeth Warren. Now I got it. Take away the AR-15. He's going to take away your guns. He's got to come after people because, guns are the problem. And anyway, the point being, though, is, and I saw this today. This just warms my heart, and it should warm everyone else's heart too. There is a poll that came out from the Daily Caller. They didn't do the poll, but they announced it, that Abbott's got a double-digit lead over Beto in the Texas gubernatorial race. And he apparently has an 11-point lead right now. And this was, according to a new state poll that was passed out by the University of Texas Politics Project poll. As in-person voting actually starts, in 2 days. So far, 54% among likely voters in Texas, 54% say they plan on voting for Abbott, while 43% indicated that they are voting for O'Rourke. So by a 54 to 43 margin, 11-point lead goes to Abbott. Don't believe the poll, though. Go out and vote. Make sure you vote. But, and vote Republican because the other side is insane. But this kind of stuff helps to see. It makes me happy to see this. This is good. This is always good to see when the polls are coming out. Even though I think the Trafalgar group was the most accurate. polling for him. So anyway, take that as you will. Take that as you will. All right. So Abbott's winning. I know here in the state of Washington, it is amazing that we even have a GOP candidate in our Senate race that is within the margin of error. That hasn't happened in many, many years. And we also have a chance, a possibility that Oregon might actually get a Republican governor for the first time in something like 35, 40 years. These are all positives. These are all things moving forward and looking forward that are indicators that we are getting our message out. We're getting out there. We're getting it out there, and we're talking about the right things at the right time. And then you have, things like Nancy Pelosi saying the things that she did where she just doesn't believe it, the polls. And, for some reason, the Democrats seem to keep pushing abortion as a kitchen table issue, when in actuality, it's the inflation, it's gas, it's food prices, it's the money that are the pocketbook kitchen table issues that are out there today. And so the more that the Dems sit there, stick their fingers in their ears and go la 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 la, because they don't want to hear about the true issues that are plaguing Americans today, it's incredible. It's incredible. But I got to tell you, I would not, be super excited per se, because we still have President Biden in office, and we still have his administrative regulations that are continually adding to our inflation. I mean, this guy, I got to tell you, he is just, he barely made it out of college, was second or third last in his class in law school or whatever. He lies about all of that, all of his academics. He lies about all of that stuff. And the fact of the matter is that his regulations are definitely going to cause problems for the American people. So check this out. He's been touting up and down the coast, because he was over here on the West Coast last week, or slightly the week before. He's been touting in every single time that he's talking that he is cutting down the deficit, that he is doing all these wonderful things to make it to where our inflation is going down. When it actually isn't. He's talked about all of these things. Well, check this out. Check this out. This coming from the Epoch Times. It's basically saying that the Biden admin regulations will cost, not save, cost hundreds of billions and add 2 million hours of paperwork, according to a think tank. Okay. And so this is actually even worse, believe it or not. The Biden administration has lagged behind his predecessors regarding the number of finalized rules. He's done 436 in comparison to Barack Obama at 625, and even Donald Trump had 483. However, that, even though he's only given out 436 rules, finalized rules, in terms of the regulatory burden, Biden has no competition. So his new regulations will cost nearly $310 billion to put into practice. Obama's were estimated to cost at just above $200 billion, and Trump's were expected to cut costs by about $3 million. Now, granted, you think $3 million, okay, million's not a lot, but Trump's were expected to cut cost, not add to it, and especially not add to it in the billions. Okay. This is crazy. This is crazy. So apparently, they also claim, this think tank also claims that Biden regulations added to the burden of paperwork an estimated 193 million annual office hours. That's 2.5 times the burden added by the Obama administration in its first 22 months, and 443 times what the Trump administration added in the same period. You know, Dan Bongino puts out every morning on Truth Social and Twitter, he says, Biden is the worst president in the history of the United States. I am right there with him, 100%. And I think you are too, because if you watched my broadcast where I compared Carter, who is often mistaken as the worst president in modern history, and I compared him to Biden, you'll see that Biden actually is the worst president in American history, especially in recent history. All right. So I don't know if you guys caught this, okay, but the CDC, and where did that go? Oh, the CDC came out this past week and said that they are adding the COVID vaccine to children's recommended vaccinations before they go to school. Now, the one thing that you have to understand about the COVID vaccinations, or actually any vaccinations, the CDC makes those recommendations. They recommend what vaccines people have to have in order to be able to go in public and go to public schools. But it's up to the states. And let me just pop this up. Thank you, Daybreak. I do appreciate that. That was an interesting show about Carter. I appreciate that. So they recommend, but it's up to the states as to whether or not they're going to take it. Now, Ron DeSantis, expected, in Florida, has already given the family-friendly, double-barreled middle finger to the Biden administration and the CDC and saying, we are not going to require any of the COVID vaccines in order for our kids to stay in school. And so, you know, Ron DeSantis is leading the way. I'm sorry. I wish I could clone the man roughly, 49, 50 times so that we could get him in every state and the presidency all at the same time. I think it would be a fantastic situation. But unfortunately, we only have one. So Florida, enjoy DeSantis. Enjoy him. I do know that Abbott, Texas Governor Abbott, has been following Ron DeSantis, and apparently so are some other GOP governors that are dealing with this. Take a look at this article. This came out from Just the News. GOP governors push back as CDC adds COVID vax to immunization schedule despite data on the risk to kids. Despite the data. This is amazing. I mean, just the fact the new research finds high post-vaccination hospitalization in kids under 5, heart inflammation rates in the 12 to 15 age range that far exceed their peak COVID hospitalization rate. This is something that has been coming out multiple times. Multiple times. I don't know if you follow it. I mean, I'm telling you, in the Epic Times, if you get the chance, go to epictimes.com, or sorry, theepictimes.com, and Epic is spelled EPOCH, theepictimes.com. You can go there. They have a fantastic series of articles on the COVID vaccines, their efficacy, and all of the different things that are coming out about them as of right now that the mainstream media basically doesn't even want to look at for, problems, challenges, issues, things like that. This thing never should have been put in place as a mandatory vaccine. I'm sorry. Just shouldn't have. I know people who have taken it. My mother's taken it. My, some of my family members and friends have taken it, and they did it for their various reasons. I get it. But the kids under the age of 18 are not at risk, especially now, are not at a big risk for complications from even just the COVID virus itself. And so there is absolutely no return on investment or justification for forcing kids to get this experimental treatment. It is not a vaccine. They never tested it. That's come out thanks to, and you go back a couple episodes and I showed you the video of where the gentleman over in Europe has asked the assistant executive vice president or something like that, where she basically said that they did not bother testing for transmission, which was the whole point of getting the vaccine. Everybody here, at least here in America, everybody here in America was like ostracized because of the fact that if you didn't have the vaccine, you had the opportunity to spread COVID all over the place. When it turns out that having the COVID vaccine actually increased your susceptibility not only to it, but also to be an asymptomatic carrier. And so, you know, it's more and more evidence is going to come out on this. It's going to continue to come out, and you're going to see more and more things happen, such as this article that popped in the Epoch Times. And I am telling you, all of America's states should jump on board this lawsuit. And I'm actually amazed at where it's coming from. So apparently an Illinois law firm prepares a lawsuit against Wuhan City for losses caused by COVID-19. Oh my gosh. Somebody finally has the cojones to go after the culprits. We all know. I'm sorry, liberals, you can sit here and tell us all about the bats and the wet markets and everything else and say, oh, no, this was a lab leak. Whether or not it was accidental or whether or not it was intentional, that still remains to be proved. But guess what? It's the vaccine. It was leaked from a lab. It was created in a lab. And there's irrefutable evidence of all of this. Okay. So this law firm apparently is going after Wuhan City for the losses caused by COVID-19. And I'm telling you right now, this is fantastic. Okay. This is fantastic. So now whether or not it actually comes through is like 3 Chevy over on Rumble points this out. He doesn't think that you can legally sue a foreign city. Whether or not you can actually legally sue them or not in an American court, honestly, I just want to see them hit discovery. Because just like with the whole Durham thing, I keep telling you, Durham, the whole reason for the Durham trial is for learning and discovery of all of the things. I don't even care if anything comes out of Durham. Like, you know, we've already had Sussman get acquitted and Ivan Danchenko get acquitted. We've already seen this. So I'm just telling you right now, I want them to get to the discovery phase, to get after the material that is going to prove all of the bad things that is going on with this thing. Okay. Now, this is what the Illinoisian, that's how it's written. Don't kill me. Okay. But, the legal group setting up the civil class action lawsuit against the central Chinese city of Wuhan states, quote, based on the latest statistics, almost 40,000 Illinois state residents died from COVID, stated the press release from Kent Gray, who is the attorney practicing law in Springfield, Illinois. The case, once started, will fight for compensation for the families that lost their loved ones, for companies that were impacted financially, and for people who suffered substantial harm caused by the pandemic. And Gray said during an interview with the Epoch Times that the lawsuit will be filed mainly for damages within Illinois because the law varies from state to state. And he stated 4 factors that will lead in success of the trial. Number 1 is there are documents already proving that the city government of Wuhan knew about COVID as early as the middle of December in 2019, but failed to report it as required by Chinese law. Documents also show that Wuhan officials knew that the virus could transmit from person to person, yet lied and claimed the contrary as late as January 20th of 2020. During this crucial month, up to 3 million people flew from Wuhan to numerous places around the world. Wuhan City has significant assets, potentially including holdings in Chinese companies listed in the United States. Holding Wuhan City accountable helps the people of China so that they may have more law-abiding local government, or have a more law-abiding local government in the future. And the fourth item is Wuhan City is not protected by the 1976 Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, which has often been cited as the reason why American citizens or the U.S. government cannot sue the Chinese Communist regime. So there's your answer. There's your answer there, 3 Chevy. Apparently, because Wuhan City is not protected by the 1976 Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, they apparently can be sued. Okay? So even if they don't get anything back, I'll be honest with you, like I said, I'm more interested in the discovery phase and the information that comes during discovery in this trial. Okay? In this trial. This is what I'm talking about. So for all of you that sit there and talk about how, the Democrats, especially those who are liberal leaning, for all the times that you sit here and say, oh no, Biden doesn't lie. Biden doesn't lie. AOC doesn't lie. Ilhan Omar doesn't lie. Anybody, Nancy Pelosi doesn't lie. Well, guess what? A top Democrat has come out and admitted on video that they knew that the party's policies would cause inflation. I don't know if you caught this, but check this out. This comes to us from PJ Media. And apparently on an interview or during an appearance with MSNBC on Thursday, Representative James Clyburn admitted that the Biden administration and congressional Democrats knew that certain of their actions, wow, that was horrible, certain actions that they took would drive inflation not down, but up. Now, the question that was asked by the host, Jose Diaz-Balart, he asked, what do you say to people who say, boy, yeah, but Washington can talk about all these big programs and everything else, but I'm worried about the cost of food. I'm seeing the cost of eggs shoot up, chicken, gasoline, coming now with the winter and heating. I mean, these are all concerns that hit very directly to the people who may say, you know what, what's going on in DC doesn't think of us. And Clyburn responded with this quote, well, let me make it very clear. All of us are concerned about these rising costs, and all of us knew this would be the case when we put in place this recovery program. Anytime you put more money into the economy, prices tend to rise. Let me say this one more time. All of us are concerned about these rising costs, and all of us knew this would be the case when we put in place this recovery program. Anytime you put more money into the economy, prices tend to rise. Ladies and gentlemen, this man has finally come out and said what everybody knows, what all of us conservatives knew, and that is that pumping money into the economy has done zero to bring down inflation. Biden and his cohorts knew that this was going to be the case, according to James Clyburn. Okay? So, I mean, I don't know how anybody can sit here and go into this election, honestly, and not hear crap like this and go, you know what? You people are the worst politician set that we have had. You people are the worst that we have ever seen. And honestly, I personally would look at this and I would go, you know what? I can't imagine how anybody can vote Democrat after these last 2 years ever again. The Democrat Party should be done. Finito. Finished. Stick a fork in them. They are history because of the fact that these people knew that their policies were going to raise inflation. That is unforgivable in my mind. They went ahead and put aside their oath of office to make our lives better, to follow the Constitution, and to ensure that Americans were not harmed by the stuff that they were doing. They knew about it. They didn't care, and they did it anyway. I'm sorry, but vote them all out. I mean, I'm telling you, if I've said this for many, many years, but as far as I'm concerned, if you even think about voting Democrat, you're gone. Just don't even bother voting. You apparently are so off your rocker. You need to get mentally checked out, and you definitely do not need to be voting, just like you don't need to be behind the wheel. You definitely, I'm sorry. You're driving me nuts, people. You're driving me nuts. And how these people keep getting reelected and reelected and reelected is beyond me. Totally beyond me. All right. So, you know, these wonderful things that the Biden administration, the California government, as well as Oregon and Washington have jumped on, okay? Jumped on the whole bandwagon of electric vehicles and how they are going to save you money. And you've got the Energy Secretary of the United States saying, oh, yeah, you're going to save money. You're going to save money on gas. You'll save money on everything else. I mean, let's not even go down the path of the whole idea of having an electric car is going to cost you somewhere in the realm of $60,000 to $120,000 on the outset to buy an electric vehicle. Let's never mind the fact that the electric vehicle takes several hours to properly charge, and that places like California are telling you not to charge your electric vehicle at night because they can't keep up with the electrical grid. Let's just never mind about the fact that you saw all of these electric vehicles in Hurricane Ian get flooded out and start catching on fire. Let's never mind the fact that even the fire marshal of Florida was saying that these people that these vehicles are very risky and very dangerous and prone to fires. Let's just never mind the fact that we can't recycle the batteries and that we have heavy metals in those batteries that need to be mined in places that are outside of the United States because we don't have the resources here. So we have to depend on countries like China in order to manufacture these batteries. Let's just never mind any of that. What about when the battery has to be replaced? If you're in a gas-powered vehicle, and believe me, I've been going through this with a gas-powered vehicle here recently. I've been getting part after part after part. In fact, that's what I'm doing tomorrow is I'm hoping that I can finish off my project that's been ongoing for roughly 2 years now because of time and everything else. And let's go ahead and, understandably look at the cost of getting a battery replacement. Check this article out by Breitbart. All those wonderful electric vehicle owners are getting shocked by the cost of the battery replacements. This isn't a simple $5,000, $10,000 deal. This is 20 grand. There are people with electric vehicles in Canada, as a part of this article, that have basically said they're getting tickets of like $15,000 plus labor on top of that in order to replace a battery. Now, granted, okay, the argument could be made the battery lasts, 8 to 10 years. So, regardless of mileage, you can argue that. But right now, I just told you about cars that are still being worked on from the 1930s. Now, granted, they're classics and you're probably not going to drive them on an everyday basis, but the gasoline internal combustion engine has reliability that these things do not. It has a potential where you're only putting in a few $100 or maybe even a few $1,000 to get a new engine replaced. We're not talking about a total 1/3 cost of the lowest price of an EV to get your battery replaced. You might as well just go ahead and buy a brand new car because of the fact that you can buy the brand new car under a loan, whereas replacing these batteries, you're likely not going to be able to have a loan to do. So you're going to have to pull that money straight out of your pocket. You don't have that kind of money under today's inflation rates and everything else. This is absolutely ridiculous. And this is the thing that people who advocate for these things don't seem to understand. Again, basic economics slips by the minds of these people. They're just not that intelligent enough to grasp the concept that internal combustion engines are more efficient and much less costly over time. Anyway, all right. I've been waiting for this to happen, honestly. And I'll be surprised that, I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't happened here in Seattle, or even in Portland, where a lot of protests occur. But one of the things that has been across my mind is who pays when a protest happens and shuts down a major thoroughfare or shuts down a major highway. Highway and thoroughfare are kind of the same, but shuts down major infrastructure. Okay. And you end up in a situation where you have people, let's say in an ambulance, where somebody is dying in the ambulance and they can't get through due to the traffic that is built up because of these protests that are going on that are potentially illegal. Not saying all protests are, but are potentially illegal, and people die because of it. Well, check this out. This article popped. It was published actually yesterday, but I just saw it today. And this is from Fox News. Climate protesters accused of blood on their hands after 2 die in a crash amid traffic from bridge protest. So apparently there was a protest that happened, climate protesters. They were protesting on a bridge, and traffic was reportedly backed up for 6 miles, causing a 2-hour delay. And because of that delay and the resulting crash within that traffic, and granted, this was in England, so keep in mind this is in England, but because of that 2-hour delay, these people now have blood on their hands because 2 individuals, let's see, what was this guy? Mark Heap, 55, told the Daily Mail that after suffering a broken back and a broken leg on Monday when he stopped to help a stranded motorist and was struck by a speeding car that was attempting to avoid the traffic jam caused by climate protesters who had scaled England's Queen Elizabeth II Bridge. And Lisa Weber, apparently a mother of 4 in her 50s, was also struck by the same BMW while attempting to help stranded motorists on London's busy M20 highway and was thrown into oncoming traffic and later died. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. The first person was Lisa Weber. The second one was another woman in her 40s that was also struck and killed. So Mark Heap, Lisa Weber died, and Mark Heap was seriously injured. Lisa Weber died, and another woman also died based off of this BMW that tried to avoid the traffic. You know, I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I've probably not said it on this program, but I honestly believe that legal culpability has to be maintained. These people need to learn that when they do these things, when they create these disruptions on these main thoroughfares, that they are criminally liable for anything that happens as a result. If a person is coming from or transferring hospitals in a paramedic situation, and the ambulance cannot get through due to the actions of these people, I personally believe they should all be held responsible and all of them sued to the maximum extent of the law. That they should be held in criminal court for essentially the murders, if there is death, or the aggravated assault of somebody who is seriously injured as a resulting issue from their protest. And I understand somebody might make the argument, okay, this BMW driver is the actual one who is culpable. You are correct. But I also think that there were mitigating circumstances that made it so that the individual in the BMW shares culpability with the protesters. Honestly, I think that until we get through this, through these people's heads, they are going to have these issues continually over and over and over again. And this is just absolutely asinine, for lack of a better term, in terms of this situation. They just need to be punished, every single one of them. I don't care if you protest, okay? Protesting is a part of American life. It is a part of our First Amendment right. You can protest, which essentially is requesting a redress of grievances. But the point is that you have to do it in a very controlled situation. This is nuts, okay? Totally nuts. All right. My last article that I want to throw out. This is going to be classic. Again, like I said, all of these lawsuits, I know that they're probably not going to come out, on the positive side. I don't think these people are going to do any perp walks, but the key here is not so much what ends up at the end of the trial. It's what happens during the trial. Now, I don't know if anybody knows, but there is a big tech censorship case that is happening in federal court right now. And as a part of that big tech censorship case, being brought by the attorney generals of Louisiana and Missouri, along with some other plaintiffs, they allege, and let me bring this up so you guys can see it. They are alleging that Fauci and President Biden's chief medical advisor, who's Fauci, and other defendants named in the suit colluded and coerced social media companies to suppress disfavored speakers' viewpoints and content regarding COVID-19. Now, the good news about this is not so much that the case is first of all in federal court, but the fact that the judge has actually ordered Fauci, Psaki, Little Peppermint Patty, and other top officials to be deposed in the big tech censorship case. This is going to be epic if anything comes out of it. And it's in the Epic Times. But this is fantastic. I mean, the fact that these judges are actually standing up to these people and saying, look, you need to come in and you need to be deposed. Now, whether or not their depositions actually reveal anything, that remains to be seen. But the case, but the opportunity to be able to depose these people in terms of what they knew, when they knew it, and why they made the decisions they did, are all gathering evidence for other cases that might have more teeth and more capability to go farther in our legal system than some of these early cases might have. And even regardless, the damage to somebody's reputation, if the deposition comes out, which it should, but the deposition comes out and you see the truth because these people are under oath on the stand. How many times have we seen people who have said one thing in public and when they're on the stand, they give up the actual truth? This is where the power of sending someone to a courtroom really comes into play. And I'm going to be excited to watch this and kind of see what comes out. So this is definitely something to watch here. Definitely something to watch. All right. So, hey, listen, I've talked about these people before. I'm not going to get anything from them, but I definitely think that you need to sign up. At Hillsdale College, they put out a periodical. It's a once-a-month periodical called Imprimis. And Imprimis basically is a monthly digest of conservative speakers and authors from all over the globe, really. And this month happens to be the politicization of the Department of Justice. I haven't read this yet, but I am looking forward to it. But I want you guys to go out, get yourself a copy or get yourself a subscription. They send this to you every month. You can either get it in print like I do, or you can get it digitally. And it is an awesome way to keep up with some of the best conservative thinkers and minds today. Mark Levin advocates for them, and I advocate for them too. You should go out and go to Hillsdale College. Let's see, what is it? Search for Hillsdale College, HILLSDALE, Hillsdale College, and go and take a look and check this out. Try and get a hold of it. They do have a digital copy, like I said, or you can get the print one like I do, and go and support them. We have got to get behind these freedom fighters, all of them, conservative podcasters like myself and others. We need to support these people, because the day is coming when all of us are going to be ostracized and we're all going to be in some trouble, to be honest with you completely. Also, if you want to support the program, you can go, as well as purchasing from the IOTC, you can go to the Whiskey Musings logoed gear store. It is store.whiskeymusings.online. That's store, no S on the end, just store.whiskeymusings.online. Take a look at all of my logoed gear. I've got shirts, caps, gaiters, sweatshirts, t-shirts, all kinds of stuff. And this is, go out there, and between now and Christmas Eve, I have given you the Christmas gift of free shipping by using the promo code, all capital letters, Christmas, when you check out. You can get free shipping by using the promo code Christmas, all capital letters, at checkout. And you can get free shipping on all of the logoed gear. It's great stuff. I mean, obviously I'm wearing it. This is one of mine right here. When I drink, I think Whiskey Musings. You can also get my logo on your chest or whatever. I'm wearing my sweatpants, my jogger pants, that has the logo on them. Just great gear, warm stuff, wonderful things. Okay. All right. Last but not least, I have my question for whiskey. All right. And tonight is kind of a mix of a couple. I actually was sent two of them, but they are kind of related to each other. Whiskey. Why do white people feel offended by the idea of slavery and Jim Crow reparations? Is this a refusal to admit wrongdoing? Why is it that leftists keep running into white supremacists, yet I have never met any? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, okay? I'm going to tell you right now. Why do white people feel offended by the idea of slavery and Jim Crow reparations? Because none of us living today had slaves, okay? And nobody living today in America was a slave. There is absolutely no reason for us to pay for something that we didn't even do. I mean, that is, yes, okay, slavery was horrible. I'm not denying slavery, but guess what? Everybody did it. The Irish got enslaved. The Italians got enslaved. And by the way, all of the African-American slaves were actually enslaved originally by their leaders first. Their kings were gathering up their people and selling them off to the white men. Okay? That it's the idea of anyone in America living today doing any kind of reparations for slavery is absolutely ludicrous. You want reparations? Go after those kings in Africa who frickin' gathered your ancestors up and sold them off into the white men that came there. The white men did not come to the shores of Africa and go running off in the jungles and chase everybody down. They were bought that way. I mean, seriously, people, that is just, it is ludicrous. Is it a refusal to admit wrongdoing? Hell no. Anyone will tell you that, anyone with a brain or half a brain will tell you that slavery was wrong. Okay? Slavery was wrong. But guess what? The number one country in the world, the very first country in the world to outlaw it was Great Britain. And America was followed them not too far behind. So seriously, what the hell are you thinking that we owe you anything? The world, let me give you a news flash. News flash. The world owes you literally zero, okay? Zero, big goose egg, zero. The world owes you nothing. You need to go out and grab what and work hard for what you get in this world. The world owes you nothing. And to sit there and complain about this, complain about slavery, complain about your situation, and not get off your ass to go do something about it, you're just perpetuating the myth. You're perpetuating the problem. And you need to stop. You've got to get off your ass and start doing something for yourself to get you out of the situation that you're in. It's called responsibility and accountability. Now, why is it that leftists keep running into white supremacists? Very simple. They're looking for them. They stand in front of the mirror and they look and they go, oh my gosh. I am the descendant of white people who enslave folks, so I am a racist. No, you're not, you idiot. Okay, unless you're running around trying to enslave other people of color and you treat people in a nasty way, or you say things that are detrimental to them, like, for an example, that people in the slums are too stupid to get get identification to be able to go vote, like, or that voter ID is racist in itself, when it's obvious in Georgia, they're having record turnout of voters. It's that mentality that's the problem. It's not the idea of white supremacists. Do they exist? Sure. I'm sure they do. I'm sure there are people out there, but you know what? They are few and far between, folks. They are not the run-of-the-mill American. They are not the run-of-the-mill conservative. In fact, there are so many times that there's videos out there. If you care to pull your head out of the freaking sand, you stupid ass ostrich, and look, there are so many times that liberal people of color have come to conservative rallies, conservative gatherings, and been like, wow, I have been treated so nice. I have been treated so well here. that I actually prefer being here than I do going back to my own hate-filled gatherings. Folks, look, white supremacy probably exists. I can tell you black supremacy exists. You just look at any of the people who talk about BLM, any of the people that talk about trying to take away money from white people who have never owned a single slave in their entire life. And they're trying to take away the earnings that we've made in order to make themselves feel better. That's ridiculous. That's racist and bigoted on its own right. And to sit here and say that, people of color can't go out and get an ID or are anything less than a white person, that's the racism. That's the bigotry. And honestly, that's the stupidity as well. That is my final Whiskey Musings thought of the evening. Do me a favor, if this is your first trip to the broadcast, head on over to Rumble, sign up for an account, and make sure you hit subscribe so that you can be notified when I come online and start broadcasting on Wednesdays and Saturday nights. Also, if you haven't seen it, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to try and let's see if this is still in there. So I'm dropping this link back in for the survey. Please go out and get the survey. Go and do the survey for me. It's real quick, 5 minutes at least, thereabouts. And just go and check out that survey. Do it for me. I'd like to consider your opinions for the next evolution of the Whiskey Musings broadcast and where I go from here in terms of adding some content and variety. I do appreciate that. Otherwise, we will see you on Wednesday for the next Whiskey Musings broadcast. Good night, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.